Hi, come on in.
And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on? And hello. Hi, guys. Happy Tuesday. You are getting me for another solo episode. And today we're just going to get real fucking honest. So just buckle up on that one. I'm just going to pop right on into it, And if honesty is something that spooks you a little bit, then maybe consider why you follow me, but also check out now. We're going to get fully honest, and this is about my 3-year-old. No, you know what? It's about my 3-year-old and my 5-year-old. It's about all my kids, honestly, but it's really the pinnacle of, we're going to focus on them because right now, currently, they are making me question my life choices and making me want to pull my hair out, and holy guacamole, I am burnt out. Holy crap. Anyway, how are you guys? What's up? It's May 10th. I turned 33 in a couple of days. You guys won't hear this for a couple of weeks. So by that point, I will be 33 years young. That is super weird. You know what's weird? And I thought about that this morning is when I turned 30, it was in the beginning of the pandemic. And I was really hoping at that point when I turned 30 that, that the pandemic was going to be settled enough for me to be able to go out and celebrate turning 30, because that's a big ass birthday. So I was super excited about it, but it wasn't even possible. And I remember my 2 girlfriends actually drove up and they didn't even get out of the car because that's when the pandemic started. And it is so weird to me. Like when I think back on that, I'm like, that is so weird. How, do you guys think about that? Like the pandemic actually happened. I feel like it's a dream. And Kevin and I actually just recently talked about that on one of our chit chats where I was like, when we were at this event and just watching people at the buffet lines and everyone's crowded together. And I'm like, wait, what happened? What happened? Cause I feel like all of a sudden we just have a blip of a weird ass experience. And now we're back to real life again. And it's so funky to me, but that's 3 years ago. And that's what's blowing my mind is how much time has gone in between that and now we have 3 kids, and it's wild. But I got back from a hot mom walk. I'm sitting down in my little workout clothes. Haley's down for a nap. The older kids are at school, and this is kind of when I can do that. I'm trying to be better about structuring work and Instagram and social media and kids and everything so much better, because I am not that type of person. Not at all. Not in the slightest. I am the most scatterbrained person you'll ever meet in your entire life. I do think it's a superpower. I like to consider it a superpower. It's probably ADHD if I really have to break it down, but I've never tried to address it in any way, shape, or form. And honestly, I don't think I want to. But I do need better skill sets to help me manage my craziness that is my mind. I feel like I'm scattered talking about this. Anyway, let's get into the shit, because that's ideally what I want to talk about is the 3-year-old-ness of my world lately. And holy shit, it's so bad. And the reason I'm inspired to talk about this now is when I was just on my hot mom walk, which is not hot in any capacity other than my swamp ass that I get. In my armpits, that's really the only hot thing happening while I'm pushing Haley up the hill and gasping for air. But I ran into a friend of mine who I haven't really seen in a little bit. And it's hard. That's another thing is I feel bad because I'm I haven't seen you, and I'm trying to figure out my schedule and figure out how to get the hell out of the house. And I keep forgetting that I'm still postpartum, and that's what I think people kind of forget is that I'm still postpartum and I'm still trying to navigate, that whole world. And Haley's still a stage 5 clinger. She's taking a bottle, which is helpful, but she's still a stage 5 clinger. And postpartum takes a while. I'm now starting to pop my head up out of water and feel like I can breathe again and feel like I know myself again and feel like I actually recognize life again, where I'm not surviving day in and day out, but it's still it's still a process. I still am. And holy hell am I right now with the antics that my older two are pulling. And it's actually making me a little terrified for summer because I said to Kev, we need to enroll them in a camp or something because I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them. Like when they get bored, they pick on each other, and I cannot do that. I cannot do that. I literally was just downstairs in the kitchen after I put Haley down for a nap, making myself another cup of coffee, and the other kids, obviously it's quiet. And I'm like, I'm a really great mom when my kids are not present. Like I'm a real good mom when I have silence and am alone. But when they are here right now, I feel like that is the last thing that I've been. And I know I'm a good mom. I know I'm a good mom. I can say that confidently. I know I have moments. And right now, Spencer, my 3-year-old, is testing every one of those moments. And it is so challenging. It's so challenging. And I actually just recorded a video on TikTok, and I'm going to share it soon. So if you're listening to this, you may have already seen it on Instagram. But just the anticipation of how we are as parents completely gets smashed to smithereens once you actually step foot into motherhood, into parent life. And that's literally what's happening to me right now is I feel like I am getting sideswiped because I feel like, you know what it is? Like motherhood never gets easier. And I feel like we just anticipate that because that's all we're being told day in and day out, that things are going to get easier. You're in the newborn phase, things are going to get easier, hang in there. And it's true in some capacity because you're stuck in the diapering phase, the long night phase, the breastfeeding phase or formula phase, trying to figure out feeding phase. You're unsure of pretty much everything, especially if it's your first baby. And it's just like that gets easier because eventually in time you will get your grounding and you'll feel a little bit more confident in what you're doing and it won't feel as new. That's what gets easier. But that's a crock of shit at the same time. Like we need to stop telling parents that. Instead, we need to switch it and be like, you're going to get better at this. You're going to get stronger with this. And it's not that you're going to figure it all out. There's absolutely no way in hell that you will have it all figured out. You will learn something new day in and day out, but you're going to slowly over time be able to roll with the punches and you're going to be able to better adapt to the change that is constantly happening in your life, especially like our kids are changing they're changing until they're grown up and moved out of the house. But even then they're going to continue to evolve just like we are. And we are along for the ride and we can't expect it to always be stagnant because that's what easy has always meant to me. Like you kind of fall under this idea that it's going to get easy because things hit a plateau, and nothing hits a plateau in motherhood. Nothing hits a plateau. You're constantly going uphill. Like you might stop and rest for a little bit where things allow you to breathe for a hot second, but you're constantly always going uphill. And I think that's what we need to tell people, that it's no different than working out. Is the exercises don't get any easier, but eventually you get better at them. You understand them better. You get stronger and you can handle them a little bit better. And that's exactly how motherhood is. And that's how it has been for me. But right now I'm in.
We'll be back after a quick break.
Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
I'm like in that rough patch of figuring it out until I adapt to it. And then, of course, once I adapt to it, something new is going to come along. And that's a lot. It's so much. 3-year-olds are a lot. There's so much. And it's definitely one of those things that happens to each kid so differently. Cassidy, I don't remember 3 being this tough, but maybe I blocked that out of my head. Who the hell knows? 4 was a doozy with Cassidy. That was definitely a doozy. But I was also pregnant. Like, I think there's a variety of factors that play into that too. Like, are you pregnant? Do you have other kids? Like, do you have support? Are you working? Are you home? there's so much shit that plays into how we see different ages and how we handle different ages. But Spencer right now is just testing my patience. He yells at me. He constantly, no matter what I say, is telling me to shh. He isn't happy with anything. He's the worst eater ever, but yet he wants to snack on things, which drives me bonkers because it's just, I want my kids to eat healthy. And then I get on myself about that because it's just like an ever losing battle some days. And he's been waking up extra early, like bedtime, thankfully, knock on wood, he has been okay on, but God, I don't like him. I don't like him. That's my honest truth right now. I don't like him. I love him. I love him. If I didn't, I would probably drop him off on the side of the road, but I don't like him right now. And that kills me a little extra. Like I've been there before. And that's such a taboo subject. I've mentioned that on Instagram before and people were like, how could you admit that you don't like your children? And I'm like, easy. I don't always like them. Do you like everyone around you? No. You would be insane if you did. You would be lying to yourself if you did. I don't even like Kevin all the time. I don't even like myself all the time. Like, how do we like someone all the time when their behaviors are not behaviors that we enjoy? Like when they're making our lives a little extra hellish, how do we like them in the moment? You don't. But love is always there. And that's the thing. It's like, I love that kid so fucking much. I love him to infinity and beyond. Can you tell my mom? And it's just fuck. You know, the conversations. I'm such a mom. Infinity beyond. I like to say I'm going potty, tushy, Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm in a rough patch with him. And I think I take it a little bit harder with Spencer specifically. And I've talked about this before on Instagram is he was born. And when Spencer was born, we got 3 months until the pandemic hit. And then we got thrown in it. And not only that, but he was my second baby. I personally feel like that second baby really threw me. Going from 1 to 2 just completely rocked my world in a way that I never anticipated, never expected. And I don't really remember a lot of Spencer's infancy. And because of that, and I struggled connecting with them. And I feel like since that point, I'm working adamantly to connect with him. And now that he's acting in this manner and he's super spicy and he's a little bit more challenging, it's making the connecting so much harder for me. And then I feel guilty because I'm like, okay, like I really want to like you right now. So that way we can go and have a fun time. But when even like if we were to go out one-on-one, there's going to be a tantrum of some sort. And that just, it kills me right now because I'm like, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to, I'm so afraid of giving him middle child syndrome that it really makes me stop in my tracks. And I can see how it happens. Like I honestly can see how it happens because I have Cassidy who is older. She's 5 and yet she gives me, run for my money and on certain occasions, but that definitely has slowed down a bit. And she's enjoyable. Like she's so much fun. We can have conversations now. She and I can have really actually have conversations where I can rationalize with her and explain certain things to her. And we don't go through as many tantrums as we ordinarily would. We still do. Don't get me wrong. We still have our moments, but it's far more enjoyable and easygoing with Cassidy at the age that she's at. And then Haley is in that sweet spot. She is 14 months old. She smiles constantly. And she's just on routine. She's like that routine kid where if you give her a snack, you give her a bottle, you give her a nap, or just put her on your hip, she's content. And then you got Spencer. So for me, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take Cassidy and Haley. That's easier for me. Spencer, you're going to stay home. Like you're going to stay home with daddy or things like that. And I don't want to do that, but it's like, thank God I realize it and I do realize it, but it's definitely hard. It's so hard. It's very difficult. I feel like I'm in such a difficult patch with him and I'm just holding on for dear life because I really want to get through it. I want to get through it in a way that he still likes me and I still like him and that I don't damage him for life because that's honestly the biggest concern of, I think, every parent is what the hell are we doing to our kids and are we traumatizing them? And there's some days where I know that's important. Childhood trauma is a very important thing, but what about us? What about us parenting trauma and the way they make us, question everything? Someone messaged me last night because I recorded a story saying like night recap, and I got 5 seconds in before someone's crying, and I'm like, that's the night recap. Bye. Holy fuck. And someone just said, you look like you're staring off into space, like you just survived like the apocalypse. And I'm like, well, I kind of did. Like I just survived trauma. Like you can tell that trauma was inflicted on me in some way. And I was like, yeah, because I am the poster child for Stockholm syndrome. Are you kidding? Do you know what that is? I actually looked that up the other day, and Stockholm syndrome is like basically a abuser of some sort coerces you in a way that you don't realize that you're in an abusive situation. Like they hold you hostage, and that's where you find out like where people are being held hostage and they actually fall in love with their captors, or they don't want to leave because they really enjoy their captors, but ultimately they're being abused and they're being held against their will, but they've been tricked almost. That's my life. That's my life with Spencer currently. I once commented on when I went for I think it was like my year midwife appointment at the OB, and I wrote on there because they have like a questionnaire that you fill out and they go through all of it. And one of the questions was like, are you safe at home? Have you ever been physically hurt by anyone in your household? And I just wrote on the side, and I don't know why I did this because I know what they're asking. Like, am I being abused by my partner? Absolutely not. But I wrote like in parentheses, and I was like, do your 3-year-olds count? Because if so, yes, white flag, white flag, white flag. I don't know if they read it. I hope they did. But if they did, I'm sure they got a chuckle because, oh my God. Well, I wish there was something I could give positive out of all of this, but there isn't. So I'm just sharing this in hopes that we get some camaraderie out of this hellhole that we're currently in parenthood. And that's the thing is like, I saw a comment the other day and it came in on Facebook on something about complaining. Oh, it was a reel I did a while ago, and it was like, I don't want to be fucking touched anymore. And it's going nuts over on Facebook, and people on Facebook, by the way, are just a whole different beast of a situation. Instagram, you get nasties. I haven't gotten that in a while. TikTok, you get nasties, but usually it's men. They make no sense, honestly, and they're usually gross. And then Facebook, it's like 60-plus-year-olds who like to use a flag emoji a lot, and they're overly political and like tone deaf. But it came in from someone about like complaining about like being touched out and things like that. And I tried responding and saying like, you know what, it's not complaining. And I feel like, or maybe it is. Who gives a fuck? Maybe it is complaining, but you have to understand is like, you have to hold room for that. If you have someone in your life that's constantly complaining, yes, that's toxic negativity. But if you have someone in your life that isn't complaining at all, you should be concerned. You should be asking questions because this shit is hard and you are allowed to say it. And I feel like people have lost this ability. And Libby Ward and I from Diary of an Honest Mom a couple of episodes ago, if you listen back in season 1, she was my final episode. We talked about that and she said it's the power of and she's so spot on as people have forgotten that we can say, this is hard and I love it. I am exhausted and I would do it all over again. Like people have lost that sense of and that understanding and empathy. And it's actually really disheartening sometimes because on Ward, I'm seeing more where people are tripping up on that power of and it's women. And that kills me sometimes. And I'm actually planning on bringing on a guest to talk toxic positivity because there is an account on Instagram that I have stumbled across, and I'm sure a lot of you have probably seen it. And she is the epitome of toxic positivity. I'm not going to say her handle, but she has a large following. And some of the stuff that she says is incredibly damaging, where she's like, you know what, I don't complain about the blessings that I've prayed for. And why would I make it a nightmare when I have wanted this all my life and I've always dreamed of this? Like, you're not making it a nightmare by saying the hardships, like by saying the things that actually have been going on in your day. You're allowing space to be able to break that down. And I personally have found that anything that you do alone is 10 times harder. And that's unfortunately what we have come to do in motherhood and parenting spaces, is we have shut down this ability to be able to talk openly about our struggles in order to see that we're not alone and then receive that help, because it's no different. You don't know you have a problem until you say you have a problem. You can't get help until you actually ask for help. And that's what people are doing. And it's giving room for conversation. And that's what I try and do with my content. That's what I'm trying to do with this podcast, is I'm trying to give people a window of opportunity to be able to be like, hey, you know what? I feel this way. And this is actually what's going on. And I hope I give people a voice. And I put things into perspective that they may not have been able to do before. And maybe you can share my stuff. And maybe maybe you've seen a video, or maybe you're hearing this podcast and you send it to someone and be like, hey, like, give this a listen. I really identify strongly with everything she's saying, or things like that. Like, I'll be your icebreaker. And that's what people don't understand on this whole social media front, is that people are coming together to give moms a voice for some of the hardest parts of this job that a lot of people have swept under the rug like it's not a big deal. And it is a big deal, because if we want moms to enjoy this, which ultimately that's all I want at the end of it all, to be like, you know what, I truly enjoyed everything about this. And if we want this to go smoothly, then we need to know about the rough patches. And we can't do that unless we are honest about them. And a lot of people, unfortunately, see that honesty as negativity, and that is anything but. I actually just recently shared a TikTok, and you guys will see it early, because this is May 10th that I'm recording this, where I did a video of different clips and going through statistics that came in about moms. And I feel like the sample group was over 2,000 women that, answered these questions. And it was found that only 10% of moms are being reported as getting the recommended sleep. So that's that, 7 or 8 hours a night. Only 10% are saying that they're somewhere getting in there. 5% of a mom's day is going towards self-care in some format. And that's not defined. Like, I don't know what that self-care is, whether it's going to the gym, doing your hair, doing your makeup, whatever. I think it honestly is, just taking care of your health, brushing your teeth, going to the bathroom, brushing your hair type of stuff. 88% of all moms report that they don't have enough time in the day to cook a meal of some sort. So that's why a lot of moms and dads are going towards getting fast food options and things like that. And then in average, about 247 meals per year are being missed by a mom. And and then I think the last one is 90% of moms are reporting feeling very isolated since becoming a parent. And all of these statistics, I didn't share them so I could be negative. I shared them because Mother's Day is coming around the corner, and, it's great. You get a lotion, you get a card. I'm so glad, but also that doesn't help me. And I feel like people, we think of Mother's Day as like this one day to go out and beyond for the mom in our life. But then it's all forgotten. And there's a reason why these statistics exist. And these are good stats. Like, these, I read these and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? And I shared this because I'm like, I want there to be help. I want these statistics to be better. Imagine if we could get these statistics up. Imagine if next year, Motherly, if you need a good website, Motherly actually does like a year review, and it's actually pretty interesting to see how the stats change from year to year, and whatnot. But I imagine if next year 12% of moms are reported on getting the recommended sleep, and then the year after that it turns to 15% and 20% and 30%. Like, what if we can make this better by bringing this shit out into the open, so that way we can get conversations started, so we can get support, so we can make changes happen. And that's why I shared it, because I'm like, for Mother's Day, like, what if you're a spouse listening and you have a mom in your life, what if you do something that steps up so they can get a little bit more sleep, and not just for the day? Like, what if you do something that you instill some change, where maybe you're tackling a nighttime feed, maybe you're getting up early with the kids if that's possible, maybe you're doing bedtime with the kids. So that way your significant other can, get a little extra sleep? What if we are focusing on a meal delivery plan? Maybe you sit down with your spouse and meal plan with them. What if you go grocery shopping for them? What if you also have a part in the meal prep for everyone, including your kids? Because I feel like that's a weight that falls on mom's shoulders a lot more than, I personally feel that way. Like I feel like sometimes the meal planning for my kids and making sure my kids get a healthy meal falls on me a lot. And that's a lot. It's like a big pressure sometimes. I've freaked out about that before. Kev will know that all too true. I freaked out. I was like, I'm tired of being the only one that cares that they are getting good food. And I actually I think I talked to Libby from Diary Even Honest Mom about this, where I'm like, you know what, Dad, if my husband were to bring the kids out and get a Happy Meal, that's all fine and dandy. He's a great dad. If I were to do it, then I'm a lazy mom. But guess what? 88% of moms say they don't have enough time to cook a meal because I have so much other shit that I'm expected to do. And I don't have time. Like, dinner is the worst fucking time in my day. I hate dinner with a passion. I hate dinner time. I hate a lot of things, laundry included, as I sit here surrounded by laundry baskets. But I hate dinner time because it's an epic clusterfuck every single night. Some kid is crying. Someone's hungry. Someone wants a snack while I'm trying to make them food. By the time I give them food, they don't want food anymore. I haven't eaten all day, so I'm a little snippy. And then I have to make sure that like everyone is eating nutritionally. But guess what? They don't want to eat nutritionally. They want to go eat their goldfish. Yeah. Anyway, can you tell it's like something that just riles me up? But it's like stuff like that. So for Mother's Day, like with all of these stats, like 90% of moms feel isolated. How about for Mother's Day, we all as a society stop telling moms to quiet themselves? How about we stop trolling people? How about we stop telling people to just be happy? How about we stop telling people to cherish the really hard moments because one day they won't be there? Like, we all know that, Nancy. We all know that, Stevie. I'm saying Stevie because he was a recent troll of mine on Facebook. Fuck you, Stevie. Like, what if we stop and we allow moms to actually speak what's going on and we give them space? What if we did that for Mother's Day? What if we did that Mother's Day and from every day forward? Like, that would be incredible. That would actually change a whole bunch of shit, Yeah, I can keep going. I can keep going on this tangent, but I won't because I'm at 26 minutes and I like try to keep my solo episodes short because you guys are just listening to me and I hope it feels like we are just having a good conversation on my porch. This is literally how I would be talking to you too, because I have no filter and I get really passionate about this and I get really passionate about motherhood. Like, being a mom is me. Like, I am me. I'm Mary at its core, but mom life is a huge chunk of me. My kids are an extension of myself. They are an embodiment of me. And it's a huge passion of mine. And I hate seeing motherhood be hard because it is, but I feel like it's way harder than it was ever intended to be. And I feel like I've said that before on a podcast. I feel like we're getting further and further sucked into this black hole of hardship and struggle when it shouldn't be that way. I feel like we just are constantly on our own. And that's because we've just told everyone to sit down and shut up and just cherish what you've been given. And we're like, okay, well, we do, but aren't we also allowed to be able to say that this is a tough little spot and we want help and we don't want to do this by ourselves and we didn't think that we were going to do this by ourselves? And yeah. So anywho, I'm going to go give you something to think about. But this was, I hope your Mother's Day was good. If you're listening to this after Mother's Day, I hope your Mother's Day was good. And make sure you guys report back and let me know how it went. And, what you want to see change. Like, what do you want to see change? Like, what would make your motherhood experience that much more enjoyable? Like, think about it. Honestly, ask yourself that. Like, what will make this more enjoyable for you in this moment? And you don't have to feel guilty for it. You do not have to feel guilty for it. I think that that's another thing is we've gotten constantly bombarded with this idea that motherhood should be all encompassing. And I'm here to tell you that it's not. And if you need support, then you're just human. We're not born to necessarily like know how to do this. It's a learning curve. And if something makes it more enjoyable, you're allowed to say that, So with that being said, as always, remind yourself that you currently right now are doing the best that you can with what you got. I feel like that is the biggest thing you can say. Your best today may not have been as good as yesterday. That's okay. Your best today may not be as great as it will be tomorrow. That is okay. It is so okay to acknowledge where you're at right now, what's going on in your world, what's going on in your space, because if you don't do that today, you will never recognize it tomorrow. You will never recognize it in a year. You will never recognize it. You need to know the good in order to see the bad. You need to know the bad in order to see the good. And there's so much good. There's so much good. So I love you. You're enough. I'll see you next time.
Another episode down and way more to go. But thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you would like to help support this podcast, I would love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share it with others and post about it on your own social media or leave a rating and review. I cannot tell you how helpful and how appreciated those things are for me. Of course, to catch all the latest from me, you can follow me over on Instagram at The Very Merry Life, over on TikTok, The Very Merry Life. And even if you wanted to check out my monthly newsletter, you can do so by subscribing over at theverymerrylife.com. I'll see you next week. Stay tuned for more honest, raw, real chit chat. I have some amazing moms lined up coming on, and shit's going to get fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be good.